This is VK2WI. Tonight's news broadcast from Amateur Radio New South Wales originates from the VK2WI facilities at Dural, Sydney, which is staffed by the volunteers of our broadcast team. Transmissions this evening are being made on frequencies between 160 metres and 23 centimetres. The announcer will advise on the transmitter status. In addition, automated relays will carry the broadcast through some regional VHF and UHF repeaters, and we thank the custodians of these systems for making the service available. Now, here are your announcer and engineer with this evening's news.
Well, good evening and thank you for joining us tonight here on VK2WI News. Your announcer this evening is Matthew, VK2YAP, ably assisted by Tim, VK2ZTM in engineering. Visitors here at Dural this evening, well, we don't have any at the moment. The weather here tonight is a cool and clear evening, coming into winter, and temperature outside is around about 11 degrees Celsius. Rainfall at the VK2WI site over the last week was 2 millimetres, and our transmitter status this evening is all okay. First up tonight is with regret that we begin this week with news of a silent key. We have recently learned of the passing of David McKay, VK2ZMZ, late last month at the age of 71. David was heavily involved with Wyson for a very large number of years, including a time as state coordinator. The funeral service was held last week. Please pause with us now while we remember David. Vale, David McKay, VK2ZMZ. And our thanks to Steve, VK2BOS, for advising us here at VK2WI News.
This is a news broadcast from VK2WI. March 2010 marked 100 years of the WIA, the world's oldest amateur radio society. It was started in 1910 as a result of a meeting held in Sydney by a group of experimenters seeking a better deal. This is VK2WI. We now continue with this evening's news.
And in the news from Amateur Radio New South Wales for this week. The next foundation course and assessment weekend at VK2WI is now fully booked. The next course run by Amateur Radio New South Wales is in September. However, other clubs and groups around Sydney have foundation courses and may still have some places available. So if you're looking to take part, you can email our education team, education@arnsw.org.au for more information. Paul and his team will be happy to advise you further. The next event here at VK2WI Dural will be the Trash and Treasure and Radio Experimenters Group meeting, and that's coming up on Sunday, the 29th of July. Now we have the weekly solar and geophysical report, and this report is for the period of the 29th of June to the 5th of July. Now first we have the summary, and the dates across the columns are the 29th, 30th, 1st of July, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th of July. Firstly, the 10 centimetre flux, 69, 69, 69, 67, 68, 68 and 68. The Fredericksburg A index, AFR, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 4 and 12 estimated on the 5th of July. The Australian A index, AOZ, 1, 1, 0, 0, 2, 1 and 8 estimated on the 5th of July. And then the T index, 5, positive 3, negative 3, negative 1, negative 2, positive 2 and positive 3. Solar flare activity was very low all week. Geomagnetic activity in the Australian region was quiet from the 29th of June through to the 4th of July, with only a little bit of increase, quiet to unsettled conditions being observed on the 5th of July. Ionospheric F2 critical frequencies in the southern Australian region remained near predicted monthly values during daylight hours all week. However, enhancements of 20% were observed during local night on the 29th of June, and enhancements of 25% were observed during local night on the 4th and the 5th of July. Now the forecast for the next week from the 6th of July. Solar activity is expected to be very low. Geomagnetic activity is expected to be quiet to unsettled on the 6th of July, continuing on from the day before, but then returning to quiet levels for the rest of the forecast week, and maximum usable frequencies should remain near predicted monthly values. And that data, as usual, courtesy of Space Weather Services. Now the solar flux index update, the SFI figures for this week, having finished June, the figures for June were a minimum of 67, an average of 73 and a maximum of 82, with peak dates between the 19th and the 25th. Now as we're about a week or so into July, the predictions so far for this month looking like a minimum of 67, an average of 71 and a maximum of 80, with peak dates between the 15th and the 23rd. Looking ahead to the prediction for August, we're expecting a minimum of 68, an average of 73, maximum of 80, with peak dates between the 11th and the 19th. And that's SFI update with thanks to Noel, VK2WI. And now we have the space weather summary for June 2018, and that is with data compiled courtesy of Space Weather Services. Now, solar activity was predominantly at very low levels throughout the month of June. There were no M-class or X-class flares observed. In fact, there's been no M or X-class flares observed for over 6 months now. Most of the activity that was observed on the Sun was in the form of solar coronal holes. Now, as is often seen, the coronal hole activity induced some high-speed solar wind streams, and they in turn, if they hit the Earth, caused some increases in geomagnetic activity. And we did see that on the 1st and the 26th of June, where the local A index reached 16 and 17 respectively. There was a minor isolated storm period, which was around midnight local time on the 26th of June as a result, and there was a geomagnetic alert issued for that one. That's as big as it got for that month. Now, there were no significant ionospheric depressions observed throughout June, but lower than normal MUFs were observed during the month. Most likely these were due to the overall low solar flux levels, but there is some additional depressions that were likely in association with the geomagnetic activity, as we said, that geomagnetic activity probably being induced by the coronal hole high-speed wind streams. The largest depression MUF that was observed in the southern Australian region was on the 2nd, and MUFs were depressed by 20% compared to the predicted monthly value. The overall low level of solar activity may lead to the question, are we at solar minimum yet? Well, it's a bit hard to tell just yet. The minimum of this solar cycle, cycle 24 it is, was in December 2008. Now, a solar cycle is roughly 11 years on average. The current predictions, though, look like the next solar minimum might be a little bit earlier than that and occur in the second half of next year. The minimum is defined from the 12-month smooth sunspot number, so the sunspot numbers are averaged out over a 12-month window. To do this calculation, you need an extra 6 months of sunspot data afterwards. So we need to wait until we have that data before we can say definitely what the smooth sunspot number was. And then it takes some time to be sure that that number is indeed hit the bottom and is going up again. And it's not just a temporary little blip and going back down. Sometimes, like we saw indeed in 2008, there was an extended minimum period, so we had to wait a while. Or sometimes the smooth sunspot number shows no definite trend. So, not quite sure yet, but it's on track with the predictions for the second half of next year.
This is a news broadcast from VK2WI. To submit news for inclusion in these sessions, please email it to news@arnsw.org.au by the end of business on Friday. You can help us with presentation by writing your news item in the third person and limiting it to about one A4 page in an easily read font. This is VK2WI. We now continue with this evening's news.
And we ask, what use is an F-call? As we've been promoting, we're pleased to begin the series written and produced by Ono, VK6FLAB. Now, in each episode of this series, Ono looks at a different aspect of the hobby, how you as a beginner might fit in, and how you can get the very best from the over 1,000 separate little hobbies that amateur radio represents.
What use is an F-call? When I was learning to fly an aeroplane, my instructor at the time told me that every pilot has to do something called going solo. That's flying on your own for the first time. It's not the end of instruction, it's one in the path towards becoming a pilot. He also told me that this was true for pilots flying Cessnas, Boeing 747s and space shuttles. The same is true for your F-call. The time you've spent learning how amateur radio works, where things are written down, basic etiquette and procedure, are all designed to prepare you for the wider world of amateur radio. Your F-call license is the first step in the process of mastering this technical hobby. Think of your F-call as the keys to the front door. It's what allows you to participate in whatever level you'd like to. You can, of course, go on to get extra licenses. Just like in flying, going solo is only one step on the way to the moon. The joy is in the process of discovering your niche in the path along the way. So your F-call is but one aspect of your hobby. On the air last week, an amateur had purchased a radio which turned out to be not such a great bargain. Through trial and error, you can learn what this hobby is all about. Talking to like-minded people will help you find out what the tips and traps are. I realise that there are more than a few listeners who either haven't got their kit ready, or if they do, are afraid to talk and use it. Over the coming months, a few of us are going to get together to come up with a way that you can participate on the air without being afraid to make mistakes. And I should also say that you should find ways of participating in events as they happen. The people turning up at those events come from all different walks of life, but they all have in common that they have an interest in this hobby of amateur radio. I'm Onno Benshop, VK6 Fox Lima Alpha Bravo.
Thanks, Onno. And for more information about this series, you can contact email directly. Email Onno at itmaze.com.au. That email address again is Onno, O-N-N-O, at itmaze.com.au. And Onno's on Twitter as well, and you can follow him at VK6FLAB. We now move on to ARRLDX news. We start this week in Mauritius. Carrel OK2ZI will be active as 3V8/OK2ZI from July 26 through to August 4. Activity will be on 80 to 10 metres and possibly 160 metres using CW, SSB and various digital modes. Algeria 7V, operators Nori 7X2JV, Amin 7X2VB, Tufik 7X2DE and Sharif 7X4CZ will be using the special call sign 7V5ID through the month of July. Activity will be on 160 to 10 metres using CW, SSB and FT8. Saint-Pierre-Miquelon, FP. Eric, KV1J, will be active as FP/KV1J till July 17. He will be on 80 to 10 metres using CW, SSB, RIDI and satellites as well. He'll also be active in the IARU HF contest and the DLDX RIDI contest. Svalbard, JW. Members of the amateur radio club SP3PET will be active as JW100PUT from July 18th to 31st, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Academic Ham Radio Club of the Poznan University of Technology. Activity will be on 80, 40 and 20 metres as well as 2 metres and 70 centimetres using SSB and FM. Greenland, OX, Bo, OZ1DJJ, will be active as OX3LX until July 14th. Activity will be on various HF bands, but limited to his spare time when he's not at work. Laos, XW. Bruce 3W3B will be active as XW4XR from Vientiane from July 11th through to 22nd. Activity will be on 40 to 10 metres and possibly 6 metres using CW, RIDI, JT65 and FT8. Market Reef, OJ0. OJ0C will be active July 21st to 28th and August 18th to 25th as part of YOTA, which is Youth on the Air. The youth team includes OH1UBO, OH2EP, OH3OT, OH3UAF, ON3DI, OE3FTA, and YO3IMD. They'll all be active they're all between 16 and 25 years old. Good to hear some young people on the air. Wake Island, KH9. Philip N7NVK plans to be active again as of July the 6th. He operates primarily on 40 and 20 metres using FT8 and SSB. Germany, DL, special call sign DL60SOP is active until July 31st for the 60th Sea of Peace Award. The United States of America, celebration of the United States Independence Day. There'll be 13 stations and they'll be active through until tonight, until the 8th of July. Now the stations still active are K2A in New York, K2B in Virginia, K2C Rhode Island, K2CD in Connecticut, K2E in Delaware, K2F in Maryland, K2G in Georgia, K2H in Massachusetts, K2I in New Jersey, K2J in North Carolina, K2K in North Hampshire, K2L in South Carolina, and K2M in Pennsylvania. Also in Pennsylvania there's a bonus station WM3PEN, that's a bonus station operating from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. United Kingdom, they're in on that act as well with special call sign GB13COL, joining in the American Independence Day special events, and they're active as well until July the 8th. Brazil, Scout Station PW2J will be active from July 15th to 22nd as part of the 7th Brazilian National Jamboree and the 1st Portuguese-speaking countries Jamboree. The station will be active on HF bands using SSB, CW and digital modes as well. Portugal. CS2018 FWC is active for the FIFA World Cup. Operators include CT1IUA, CT1EJB, CT1EHX and CT1FOQ. Booked for activity between July 9th to the 15th. Madeira Islands. CQ918 FWC is also celebrating the FIFA World Cup. Operators CT3KN, CT3HF and CT3MD will be active until July 13th. In Lithuania and Poland, LY85DG and SN85LOT call signs will be active from these two countries, commemorating the 85th anniversary of Lithuanian pilots Stepanas Darius and Stasis Girenas, who made a flight across the Atlantic Ocean in July 1933. The stations will be active all throughout July. Ireland, EI. Oliver ON4EI will be active as EI8GQB until July 18th and as EI17 on July 14th and 15th during the IARU HF World Championship. This weekend on the radio, the 5th Summer Slow Speed Sprint, the Venezuelan Independence Day Contest, the DLDX Riti Contest, the SKCC Weekend Sprintathon, the Marconi Memorial HF Contest, the Original QRP Contest, and the PODXS 070 Club 40 metre Firecracker Sprint. They've all been on over this weekend, and the ARRL International Grid Chase is continuing throughout 2018. And now we have WISA News. The WISA New South Wales Annual General Meeting will be held here at ARNSW, Dural, 63 Quarry Road. It's on Saturday the 11th of August and starts at 3 p.m. Now, September's shaping up to be a busy month for WISA activities. It kicks off with the Great North Walk Ultras, and that's a series of trail races through the Great Walk North, through some very rugged country, up to 100 miles long, the longest one of those races, from Taralba through to Patonga Wharf, and that's across the 8th and the 9th of September. Then, about a week later, is the VHMDX Barrington Sarex, that's a search and rescue exercise, the 14th to the 16th of September, and then the Hounslow Classic, which is a running event around Blackheath on the 22nd and 23rd of September. The WISA New South Wales website is at nsw.wisa.org.au. It contains membership information, a web contact form, other contact details and useful links. Logging in gives members access to further coming events and various operating manuals. Facebook users will find a new official WISA New South Wales page, along with an informal national WISA group. WISA Northern Rivers holds a weekly net on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. local time on the Lismore 2-metre repeater VK2RMP, which is on 146.8 MHz, and it requires a 123 Hz tone. Listen for their call sign, which is VK2WIR. The WISA Mid-North Coast region meets at 3:30 p.m. on the first Saturday of the month at SES HQ, Central Road, Port Macquarie. The Mid-North Coast region is also running an HF net on Thursday evening starting at 7 p.m. on the Band Plains 80-metre WISA frequency of 3.6 MHz. WISA ACT is part of the Canberra region amateur radio club, supporting events in the ACT and Capital Country. Coming up for them, Saturday, July 21st is the BMSC Narooma Rally, and the Batemans Bay Rally on August the 11th. The Actera Brookvale Horse Endurance Ride is on September 19th and 30th. For the details, see the WISA and events pages at crarc.ampr.org. WISA Victoria has a net on 3.6 MHz each Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. local time. Details on their future events, you can visit their website, which is at vic.wisen.org.au. And that's with thanks to Julian, VK2WIJS, on behalf of the WISA New South Wales State Management Committee.
This is a news broadcast from VK2WI. For voice contact with Amateur Radio New South Wales, telephone 02 9651 1490, which will take you to our message bank. For written contact, write to PO Box 6044, Dural Delivery Centre, New South Wales 2158, or email office@arnsw.org.au. This is VK2WI. We now continue with this evening's news.
And we're on to club news, and we start this week with news from the Illawarra Amateur Radio Society. Turned 70. As part of the Society's 70th anniversary celebrations, there was a high-altitude balloon released last Sunday morning from Good Hope Resort at Burrinjock Dam, that's just south of Yass. The 600-gram payload was housed inside a styrofoam box, and it contained a 300 milliwatt 2 metre APRS transceiver and a 300 milliwatt 29.636 megahertz CW transmitter. The APRS system reported information such as altitude, position, speed and temperature, both inside and outside the box, and the CW beacon reported battery voltage and the temperature as well. The balloon was inflated, payload equipment energised, the flight paths were checked, the obligatory photos were taken, then the balloon was finally released at 9:52 AM in the presence of a crowd of about 40 people, made up of both Illawarra Amateur Radio Society club members and some curious camping ground onlookers. The balloon took off quickly before disappearing in the low clouds above, at which time there was much jubilation, handshaking and backslapping. As the balloon steadily rose, it initially headed in a northerly direction, before its elevation took it into some strong westerly winds, which then changed to a more southwest direction, leading over Murrum-Bateman, the south end of Lake George and the middle of Moreton National Park. At that point, in a height of almost 33 kilometres, the balloon burst. It basically plummeted downwards for about 6 kilometres rather rapidly. It was first thought that the balloon would end up landing hard in the wilderness of the national park, but then with the increased dense of air, the parachute deployed and dramatically slowed the descent. The balloon then continued in an easterly direction, passing directly over the caravan parks of Lake Conjola at a height of about 3 or 4 kilometres before heading out to sea, finally splashing down just south of Green Island. Now for some statistics of the flight. The entire flight time was about 1 hour and 58 minutes. Maximum height reached was 32,777 metres, or 107,536 feet. Curvature of the Earth becoming apparent at around 8 kilometres. Travelled a total of 162 kilometres, the fastest horizontal speed being 217 kilometres an hour, and the calculated vertical falling speed after the balloon burst was up to 256 kilometres an hour. The lowest inside payload temperature got down to -7 degrees, and the outside temperature, that height, is a rather chilly -55 degrees. Now, during and after the flight, many reports were received from listeners on the 28 MHz 300 milliwatt beacon. It was heard hundreds of kilometres away. Despite the launch site being deep in a valley, the beacon could easily be heard until just before it hit the water at a distance of over 150 kilometres away. The balloon and payload landing in the Pacific Ocean, it was thought that it would never be seen again. But the very next morning, it washed up on Manana Beach. A helpful finder sent through a photo of the balloon to the project members. The balloon has since been retrieved and it will be shown at the next IARS meeting, which is coming up this Tuesday evening, the 10th of July. The general meeting starts at 7:30 p.m, directly following the committee meeting at 6:30 p.m. Meetings are at the Coniston Community Hall in Bridge Street, Coniston, which is just a little south of the CBD of Wollongong. The hall is located right next door to Coniston Railway Station. Now, this meeting, of course, there'll be a full report on the anniversary field weekend, including the high altitude balloon project, sure to be most interesting, and the balloon itself. The payload, anyway. Don't forget about the Sunday morning chit-chats, the society run by Steve, VK2BGL. If you're interested in joining the chit-chat, listen on either VK2RMP or VK2RUW 2-minute repeaters, starting at 9:30 AM on Saturday, or alternatively, you can call into the net via Echolink using either VK2BGL-R or VK2MT-R. So to conclude, everyone's invited to attend the next meeting of the Illawarra Amateur Radio Society, 7:30 p.m, Tuesday the 10th of July, at the Coniston Community Hall in Wollongong. That's a thanks to Rob, VK2MT, Publicity Officer for the Illawarra Amateur Radio Society. And we wish them a very happy 70th anniversary. The Hunter Radio Group. The next meeting is on Friday the 13th of July, in the Belmore Function Room at Adamstown Bowling Club, 504 Glebe Road, Adamstown. That's in Newcastle. Meeting starts at 7:30 p.m. After general business, the lecture for the evening will be presented by Rob, VK2ZWZ, on portable HF antennas. There's parking available at the side of the bowling club. The Hunter Radio Group conducts a broadcast every Monday evening. Starts at 7:30 p.m. on the group repeaters, 146.9 MHz in 2 metre band, and 70 centimetres for 38.025 MHz. Callbacks are taken after the broadcast. That's thanks to Rodney, VK2CN, who's the secretary for the Hunter Radio Group. We now go up the coast to the Oxley Region Amateur Radio Club, and their next meeting will be the July Friday night gathering, 7 p.m. Friday the 20th July. It'll be in the SES building in Port Macquarie. Club membership renewals for the 2018-2019 year fell due on the 1st of July, and members are asked to please renew promptly. Candidates for Foundation, Standard and Advanced licences should contact the club via Post Office Box 712, Port Macquarie, New South Wales 244 as soon as possible, because the next training courses and assessments for Advanced, Standard and Foundation licences will be run once sufficient candidates have registered their interest. The club conducts 2 nets each week. The midweek net starts at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday nights, The weekend net takes place from 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings. Both nets are on the VK2RMP 2-metre repeater, which is on 146.7 MHz, and this repeater requires a 91.5 Hz sub-audible tone for access. Visitors are always very welcome at the club's monthly general meetings there at 2 p.m. on the first Saturday of a month, and the Friday night informal gatherings are at 7 p.m. the evening of the third Friday of every month. Venue for all the meetings is the SES building, Port Macquarie. For more information about the club, visit the website, which is at orarc.org. The site contains a wealth of amateur radio items in addition to club information. The May 2018 web edition of the club's bi-monthly newsletter Oxtails, along with past issues, are up on the website. In the July 2018 issue, it's a special edition, reporting on the recent field day will be published soon in this month. The distribution to members will include the formal notice of the club's AGM, which takes place on Saturday the 4th of August. The distribution will include the nomination form for the election of office bearers for the coming year. Since all positions become vacant at the AGM, members are urged to consider the opportunity to contribute their time and expertise to continue the successful running of the club. That's submitted by Henry, VK2ZHA, for the Oxley Region Amateur Radio Club. The West Lakes Amateur Radio Club has got another car boot sale on Saturday the 28th of July. It starts at around 8:30 a.m. Sales in the club grounds, which are at 6A York Street, Taralba. You can take along any items you wish to sell, not just radio-related gear. There's no cost to set up, but bring your own table. There will be a barbecue and hot and cold drinks available. For any inquiries, contact there is Barry, VK2QG, and you can reach him by phone on 0478 228 983. And that was advised by Barry, VK2QG, for the West Lakes Amateur Radio Club. And we now come back to Sydney and the Hornsby District Amateur Radio Club. The next Haddock meeting is the informal mid-monthly meeting, this Tuesday the 10th of July. And it starts at 8 p.m. The meeting's at the Mount Colah Community Centre, which is in Pierre Close, Mount Colah. That's on the eastern side of the railway station. As we mentioned before, Saturday the 22nd of September is an important date because there will be centenary celebrations of the first message from Billy Hughes sent via Ernest Fisk. That's the message from the radio message from the United Kingdom to Australia. First message via radio. There'll be a commemorative event using the special call sign VK100 Marconi. That event will take place between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Formal commemorations at 1 p.m. The Haddock runs 3 nets each week. Monday nights at 8 p.m. on the VK2 RNS 2-metre repeater, which is on 147.25 MHz. No tone is required, but a 91.5 Hz tone is sent out. The Wednesday evening net is on 80 metres, 3608.5 kHz. It also starts at 8 p.m. And then there's Morning Tea with Haddock, which is on ear 7106 kHz, and it starts at 9 a.m. on Fridays. All the details are on Haddock's website, which is at www.hadarc.org.au. The club's got a group on Facebook, which you can find by searching for club call sign VK2MA, and on Twitter at VK2MA. That's thanks to Julian, VK2YJS, and he's the Haddock Publicity Officer.
This is VK2WI nearing the end of tonight's news bulletin. The text version of this bulletin will be available from Monday on the Amateur Radio New South Wales website. Also on this site you can find details of our services, membership and general information about amateur radio. The address is www.arnsw.org.au. This is VK2WI. We now continue with this evening's news.
And we continue with the summary of coming events. July, the Illawarra Amateur Radio Society meeting is on the 10th, as does the Haddock mid-monthly meeting. The Hunter Radio Group meeting is on Friday the 13th. The Waverley Amateur Radio Society auction is coming up on Saturday the 14th. The Amateur Radio New South Wales Foundation Course and Assessment Weekend is across the 14th and the 15th. The Oxley Region Amateur Radio Club has a Friday night gathering on the 20th. The Trans-Tasman Low Band Contest is on the 21st of July. The Canberra Region Amateur Radio Club has foundation course and exams at Red Hill on the weekend of the 21st and the 22nd. The West Lakes Amateur Radio Club car boot sale is at Taralba on Saturday the 28th, and then rounding out the month, Amateur Radio New South Wales has both Trash and Treasure and Radio Experiments group meetings here at Dural on Sunday the 29th. Into August, St George Amateur Radio Society's got their gathering on the 1st, and their foundation weekend is on the 4th and the 5th. The Oxford Region Amateur Radio Club AGM is on Saturday the 4th. The Western New South Wales AGM here at VK2WI Dural is on the 11th of August. The Remembrance Day contest is on the weekend of the 11th and the 12th. The International Lighthouse and Lightship weekend is the weekend after the 18th and 19th of August. And the Fishers Ghost Amateur Radio Club has a meeting on the 29th. Into September, George Amateur Radio Society's got a gathering on the 5th. The Great North Walk Ultra, which is a Wyson event, is on the 8th and the 9th of September. The Barrington Sarix, which is another Wyson event, runs from the 14th to the 16th of September. The Waverley Amateur Radio Society's got a foundation weekend on the 15th and 16th. And the centenary of the first direct radio message from the UK to Australia is September the 22nd. And submitting news items. To submit news items for inclusion in our bulletin, please email them to news@arnsw.org.au by the Friday night preceding the broadcast. We can also accept audio items, but please email us in advance to let us know and we can make the arrangements. And looking ahead to the broadcast roster, currently under preparation, so if you're interested in joining the broadcast team, we're always looking for people interested in announcing, engineering, audio editing or production. We'll train you. It's a bit of fun. Just let us know by email to news@arnsw.org.au. So we have in our bulletin for tonight. Your announcer has been Matthew, VK2YAP, and your engineer has been Tim, VK2ZTM. Callbacks will be taken shortly. Please call back to the relay station that provided the broadcast to you. Mount Bindo, VK2RDX, callbacks will be taken shortly and the numbers will be relayed to VK2WI. Here at VK2WI, we'll listen for callbacks for those who took the broadcast directly. From the announcer's booth, I will do a quick check of 20 metres, then 80, 30, 40 and 160 metres. Over in engineering, Tim will take callbacks on 10 metres, at VHF and UHF frequencies, and he'll advise the order. That's all for now. All the best from the broadcast team here at VK2WI. Have a great week, and thanks for listening.